Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're going to try and cut through some of the noise around AI.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of it.
Absolutely. You've probably heard all the buzz, how artificial intelligence is set to completely change business. So we've gathered some sources, industry reports looking at AI adoption overall, and also some pretty sharp takes specifically on Salesforce's Agentforce. That's getting a lot of airtime. And this is really for you, our listener. If you need to get a quick handle on what's really happening, on the ground without getting bogged down in jargon, we're diving deep into why AI adoption might actually be hitting some speed bumps.
Right.
And what the whole Agentforce situation can maybe teach us about navigating all this.
Exactly. So our kind of mission today is to understand the real hurdles, the obstacles stopping AI from being everywhere already,
Okay.
and figure out what businesses really need to think about with these technologies. And yeah, see what Agentforce's journey tells us about putting AI into a business context.
Okay, let's jump in there. The whole narrative around AI, especially this past year, it's been, well, pretty intense. Huge economic gains predicted, fundamentally changing how we work.
Oh, definitely. The hype has been massive.
But when you actually look at the sources we've got, a more complicated story starts to emerge, doesn't it?
It really does. That EPM study, for example, it offers a fascinating contrast. They found, right, that almost half the companies they surveyed rated themselves as advanced in implementing AI.
Okay, sounds good so far.
Yeah, but then only about a quarter, 26% of those so-called advanced companies and the disruptors, they'd actually managed to get real AI use cases out into the market.
Wow, okay, so a big gap there.
Huge disconnect, yeah.
Yeah.
Between saying you're doing AI and actually delivering with it. What does that suggest to you?
Well, it feels like maybe the enthusiasm about being AI-driven, it's running way ahead of the actual practical ability to get these things working and,
Yeah.
providing value.
Exactly. And the beyond the hype piece we looked at, it kind of hints at why, pointing to things like just a basic lack of practical AI know-how inside companies.
That seems key. It's not just about understanding the concept of AI, is it?
No, not at all. It's about having the actual skills across different teams to apply it effectively.
Mhm.
The article mentioned product managers may be misinterpreting AI insights.
Leading to bad product decisions.
Right. Or engineers maybe not fully getting the limitations or potential biases in the models, which, affects how reliable they are in the real world.
So this idea that you just hire a few AI gurus and boom, you're an AI company, that's maybe a bit simplistic?
It seems that way, yeah. You need a much broader base of AI and data literacy. Think about sales teams needing to use AI insights or marketing using it for campaigns, even customer support agents working alongside AI tools.
Mm-hmm.
It really calls for role-specific training to build that confidence and skill across the board.
And then there's always the human factor. That resistance to change when new tech comes along. People worrying about their jobs or just finding it hard to adjust workflows.
Absolutely. That's a big one. Bringing in AI, it's often a fundamental shift. So yeah, employees might worry about job losses or just having their routines completely upended.
Understandable.
But as that Beyond the Hype article mentioned, it's also crucial to frame the narrative correctly. AI isn't just about automation or cutting costs.
Right.
It's also an opportunity for people to do more strategic work, make smarter decisions, find new ways to grow the business. Getting that message across is key.
Framing it as an evolution, not just replacement.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to some more systemic stuff. Legal and ethical issues come up. Things like GDPR, the DMA. Sounds like a minefield for AI.
It definitely adds layers of complexity. These rules are strict about data privacy, transparency in algorithms, how AI decisions affect people.
And the risks if you get it wrong.
Well, they're significant. Big fines, maybe having to recall products if the AI violates rules, and serious damage to your reputation.
Ouch.
So the Beyond the Hype piece really stressed needing proactive governance, compliance teams, regular AI audits, making sure you can actually explain how your AI makes decisions.
So building responsible AI from the start, not just powerful AI. Makes sense. And then the practical side, just paying for it all. The infrastructure, the models, the talent, that can't be cheap.
You're spot on. Resource allocation is huge. You need a strategy. Overspending on AI experiments with no clear ROI, that drains cash fast.
But underspending means falling behind.
Exactly. It's a balancing act. Maybe using scalable cloud AI services helps manage costs, or looking at open source AI and definitely upskilling your own people instead of just hiring expensive external experts.
A data-driven approach to the investment itself, basically focused on ROI.
Precisely.
The EPM study also flagged outdated tech infrastructure, and also this lack of alignment between the business side and the tech teams doing the AI work. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, that's a classic problem, isn't it? Even without AI. While about a third of execs in that study blamed old tech, the real issue is often deeper. The business goals for AI aren't clearly connected to what the IT teams are actually building or capable of supporting.
So get the business goals clear first, then figure out the tech strategy to support them.
Exactly. Then tech teams can target their modernization efforts effectively.
And security. Always a big one with data, especially the huge amounts AI needs.
Oh, absolutely. Data protection, making sure the data quality is good, strong cloud security. These are just table stakes. Non-negotiable.
Right.
The EPAM study showed many businesses see weak security as a barrier to modernizing anything, and AI is definitely included there. You can't trust AI if the data isn't secure.
Okay, one last general hurdle from EPAM. That was interesting. They said even companies with AI strategies often lack comprehensive governance frameworks. Seems like a contradiction.
It is quite revealing. Having a strategy on paper is one thing, but the study found only a tiny fraction, like 4%, of the leading disruptor companies actually had solid, comprehensive governance for their AI.
Wow.
And they reckon it takes, 18 months or more to even implement effective governance? It suggests most companies are still really early in figuring out how to properly manage and steer their AI work responsibly.
Okay, so that paints the broad picture. Lots of excitement, yes, but some really significant practical challenges slowing down widespread, successful AI adoption.
Definitely.
Now let's zoom in on Agentforce. Salesforce has been incredibly vocal. Benioff himself calling 2025 the absolute year of Agentforce, talking about unprecedented growth.
That's definitely been the message coming from the top. Big pronouncements.
The insights from the Salesforce Ben articles we looked at,
Yeah.
they suggest maybe a slightly cooler reality in terms of actual adoption rates.
Yeah, it seems more tempered when you look closer. They reported, around 5,000 Agentforce deals closed by February 2025.
Something like that.
And a lot of those were apparently still just testing or maybe bundled into bigger deals, so potentially not even being used actively yet.
Right. And Salesforce's own CFO talking about modest sales growth overall for the company, the slowest ever.
Yeah.
That doesn't quite match the absolute year hype, does it?
No, it really doesn't. And those articles start digging into why there might be this slower uptake, starting with the product itself. Is it actually ready? Is there a gap between the marketing pitch and the reality?
Keir Bowden, one of the experts quoted, called it immature in some ways. Lacking standard functions, needing a lot of foundational automation work before it's truly useful for complex stuff.
Exactly. And there's also this apparent disconnect around how easy it is to use. Salesforce shows these slick demos building an agent in 30 minutes.
Yeah, I've seen those.
But Ben McCarthy pointed out the reality, setting it up properly, getting the training data right, testing it rigorously, that can take weeks, maybe months, not 30 minutes.
He mentioned a demo actually bugging out too, which doesn't inspire confidence.
Not really. It sounds like maybe the demos focus too much on simple consumer-type tasks, booking a restaurant or something.
Right, not complex enterprise workflows.
Exactly. Ian Gotts raised that point. Senior managers might not trust these agents yet for critical business processes if the demos don't reflect that complexity.
Makes sense. You need to see it handling tough, real-world B2B scenarios, like complex sales or support issues, as Keir Bowden said, not just the same basic examples over and over.
To build that enterprise trust, yeah, they need to show it working reliably in those more demanding situations.
And Rob Thomason mentioned this kind of lingering trust issue, maybe because of past Salesforce product launches that didn't quite hit the mark initially. There's some skepticism.
A bit of a fool me once kind of feeling, perhaps. Even if Agentforce is genuinely easier to use this time, as Thomason noted, you can spin up prompts quickly.
Right.
But overcoming that history requires showing consistent, robust results in complex scenarios. Until then, people might see it as interesting tech, but maybe not yet a reliable workhorse.
Okay, so product readiness is one piece. But what about the organizations trying to use it? Are there prerequisites on their end? The articles talk a lot about data debt and messy Salesforce orgs being a problem.
Oh, yeah. This seems like a major roadblock. Many Salesforce setups have years of, technical debt. Clunky configurations, inconsistent data, old customizations.
The stuff nobody wants to clean up.
Exactly. And as Jessica Oliver said, AI just doesn't work well with technical debt and bad data. It forces the issue. Companies have to prioritize cleaning up their data and architecture before AI can really fly.
It's that Rob Thomason analogy again, isn't it? The $1 burger on a fancy grill. Great AI tech, but if the data underneath is junk.
The results will be junk. Bad data in, bad results out. Simple as that. And Ben McCarthy pointed out, lots of orgs were built the quick and cheap way initially, not built for the scale or structure AI needs.
So you need clean, structured, consistent data. Daniel Redmond's example of trying to use AI for statements of work across different regions with different processes really highlights that. AI needs structure.
It thrives on it. You need structured processes for AI to work reliably, especially for generating consistent outputs like that.
So a big cleanup job might be needed before you even think about Agentforce. That's a hurdle. Okay, let's talk pricing. That seems to be generating a lot of chatter. The $2 per conversation, the $75 per user per month.
Yeah, that's definitely caused a stir. Keir Bowden called it a premium product with a premium price tag, especially given the underlying AI costs might be relatively low.
And confusion about what a conversation even is. How many requests? Does it reset? Is it tied to one customer?
Exactly. That lack of clarity makes it really hard for executives to budget. It's kind of a black box, which makes them nervous about signing up.
Rob Thomason even found the buying model itself complex, with confusing required SKUs, if he finds it tricky.
Imagine someone less familiar with Salesforce. It's definitely a barrier. And it raises ROI questions.
Right. Keir Bowden's point. If Agentforce doesn't solve the issue and it escalates to a human anyway, are you paying twice? Once for the AI, once to the person.
That $2 could add up fast if it's not actually resolving things effectively.
Jess Oliver had a counterpoint. She thought consumption pricing could be good pay for what you use.
Right.
Compared to a human agent's full cost, or temp staff, maybe $2 isn't unreasonable, especially if it means faster answers and better CX.
It's a valid perspective. You really need a proper cost-benefit analysis considering those potential efficiencies. And Ben McCarthy and Peter Chittum both think Salesforce might adjust the price later.
Yeah, like they often do after initial rollouts, or as their own costs may be dropped.
Potentially. And comparing it to, say, Google's Vertex AI pricing, which is much lower, definitely makes Agentforce look premium right now.
But Ian Gotts summed up the current mood, didn't he? Companies don't want to hand out a blank check for AI. They want predictable ROI, maybe spending caps.
His comment about the $2 price, maybe just being the cost to learn about a limited agent, really captures that uncertainty.
So premium price plus uncertainty equals cautious adoption.
Seems to be a big part of the equation right now, yeah.
Okay, beyond the product and the price, the articles also mentioned issues around like enablement, trust, and just the readiness of the whole Salesforce partner ecosystem to actually deliver this stuff.
Yeah, another critical layer. Even if the tech was perfect and cheap, you still need the support structure.
Right. Despite the low-code, fast setup marketing, users are finding documentation fragmented, tools inconsistent, just a lack of clear guidance for customers and partners.
Peter Chittum called the setup fiddly and not well thought through, and said the documentation felt like lots of teams wrote bits without one clear step-by-step path.
That puts a lot of pressure back on the people implementing it, doesn't it? Having to basically reverse engineer how to do things.
Definitely. And Chittum also lamented the end of the Salesforce well-architected program, which could have helped standardize things and maybe sped up adoption.
So partners might feel a bit unsure how to actually sell or deliver Agentforce confidently right now.
It sounds like it. Jess Oliver suggested just positioning Agentforce as another tool in the partner kit, integrating it into how they already solve customer problems.
Make it less of a standalone thing.
Yeah. The ecosystem needs repeatable playbooks, more confidence in the platform's support and reliability.
Okay, so lots of challenges. But it wasn't all negative. The articles did have some notes of optimism about Agentforce's potential down the line.
Oh, for sure. Jess Oliver, for instance, expressed real excitement about Agentforce and AI generally, and she highlighted the strength of the core Salesforce platform itself as a huge advantage.
And there are early success stories, like Elements.cloud using 8 agents for complex internal stuff. It shows it can work.
If you're methodical, have clear inputs, align it with the business, exactly. And this trend, Jess Oliver mentioned, of companies starting with smaller, low-risk AI projects to learn, that's encouraging too.
Less fear, more experimentation, maybe in less regulated areas.
Right. And Keir Bowden's idea that 2025 might be a year of breakthrough and calibration for this kind of agentic AI, maybe wider adoption picks up in 2026 once people see if it really sticks.
And Daniel Redmond pointed out Salesforce's built-in advantages, the trust they have, all the data already in Salesforce, the integration with sales and service teams.
That creates a kind of moat, as he put it. It's harder for external AI tools to compete when Salesforce can offer something deeply integrated, potentially more secure, and leveraging existing data.
So the potential is definitely there, even if widespread adoption isn't happening overnight.
Yeah.
Companies that are cleaning up their data now, exploring use cases carefully, they'll be better placed later.
Seems likely, yes.
Okay, so pulling this all together, looking at the general AI hurdles and the specific Agentforce story, what are the big takeaways for businesses? What have we learned here?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that successful AI isn't just about the tech, it's really holistic. You have to address the people, the processes, the data, the culture, the governance, all of it.
Right, it's not plug and play.
Not at all. And aligning any AI investment with clear business value, focusing on tangible results, efficiency, revenue, customer experience, whatever it is that's absolutely crucial.
It feels like it's about closing that gap we talked about earlier between the glossy potential of AI
Yeah.
and the often messy reality of putting it into an existing business.
Exactly. And that takes targeted training, encouraging smart experiments, and a real commitment to doing AI responsibly and ethically.
And the Agentforce story really hammers home the
Yeah.
data readiness point, doesn't it? Deal with your technical debt first.
Absolutely. And also how critical clear pricing and demonstrable ROI are. Plus, the need for good enablement, clear guidance, building trust. These are essential for rolling out any new tech, especially AI.
So summing up, AI's buzzing. Huge potential, no doubt. But the road from hype to actual business impact, as Agentforce shows, is complicated. You've got practical hurdles, data issues, pricing questions, trust deficits.
It requires a really strategic, joined-up approach. For me, some aha moments were that disconnect between perceived AI maturity and actual deployment success.
Yeah, that was stark.
The absolute centrality of clean data. You just can't ignore it. And how much pricing transparency and good user support actually matter for adoption rates.
So for you, our listener, when you're thinking about AI in your world, it really pays to look past the hype. Dig into your data readiness, be crystal clear on the business outcomes you want, and really scrutinize the costs and the support you'll get.
Yeah, those foundational things are key.
Yeah.
Which leads to maybe a final thought to chew on.
Okay.
Given all these challenges, the tech, the data, the pricing, the enablement, what's actually going to be the critical thing that finally bridges that gap between AI's huge promise and its widespread, impactful reality in business? Is the tech getting even better? Clearer ROI models finally emerging? Better guidance for users? Or something else entirely?
That is a good question. What unlocks it all? Something definitely worth pondering as this all continues to unfold.